Welcome to the show. I'm Jackie Campbell and here with my esteemed colleague Michael Worthington, who of course is my partner in all things crazy.
Michael, you wonder why we're laughing. We're having a couple of technical difficulties. Well, I am.
So we've actually finished the show for the day, failed to hit the sound record button, and now we're trying again. So that's fine if anybody would like to watch the earlier mute version. We have video, just no sound.
We might just play music over that.
Well, we could actually enlist talking about, because what we're going to be talking about today, of course, is the stages of business and how you go from infancy into adolescence. And this mark of adolescence is actually when you start to get help.
Yeah.
So maybe what we could do is get the previous video, send it to someone who can lip read, and we can just put captions over the bottom.
I'm thinking about the last time we did the e-myth and we're talking about the three people. I'm going, the technician was vacant. He'd gone on holidays.
Well, that's okay, because I think the manager was gone too. You were clearly in an entrepreneurial phase.
So the manager and the technician, they're on leave, and we only had the entrepreneur who really doesn't care.
But the entrepreneur's about the future. They're not living now. No. They don't care about the technicalities.
Oh, so. Isn't that funny? Anyway,
back to what we're talking about.
Show. So we talked last time about the technician, the manager, the entrepreneur, who've now returned to the studio.
Yes. Okay, so just a reminder.
Yeah.
The technician.
Yeah.
That's the part of you, because of course what we were talking about earlier was change.
Yeah.
And how your week has been filled with change. And my week has been filled with all of this change.
There's my excuse.
Too much change?
Too much change. And as you can see, we've changed the studio. It's not finished yet, so it's a bit bland at the moment, but there will be some trees and books and dress it all up. But we're saying, I love change. I actually love going for change. I know I go, grade B plan. Maybe in this case, I should have had a grade A.
Maybe.
But change is good.
But you can have just so much change in a business, you never feel like you've stabilised.
Yes.
And the interesting thing about that is it hooks really nicely when you actually start to think about the three, effectively, people that we all have inside of us as business owners, which is, of course, one of the initial points of the e-myth, which I wished, again, this is one of these things I wished I'd understood earlier, is you've got the technician, you've got the manager, and you've got the entrepreneur. And these three guys, or girls in my case, are constantly in conflict with each other. So you can see why change can be just so fluctuating as you flip between these guys, because they've got different priorities.
Yes.
The technician, of course, which is where most of us start out, they're the guys that do the work. They live in the present. They're working on the work that needs to be done right now. Not these airy-fairy, whiffy-woffy ideas of greatness. Not the getting organised and putting the pieces of paper in the right files. The actual work. Now, the work doesn't necessarily need to be done, but it's the work of the business. We get caught up in that, and you can work for hours and hours, and that's when it doesn't really seem like work because you're getting into it, and that's that 10, 12, 14-hour days.
And then you get that manager part that then starts to work in reverse. So if you're doing all this, we need to get a system.
We need a system, for goodness sake. And that's the guy that when you get a bit overwhelmed as a technician, goes out and starts buying colour-coded folders. We need organisation, we need procedures, we need all of this. And you do, you do.
Yes, you do. If we'd had procedures, we would be finished our show by now.
We should, but that's okay.
Anyway.
So that's the colour folder guys.
Yeah.
Now, effectively, the technician needs the manager.
Yes.
And the manager needs the technician. Because if the technician wasn't doing all of the work, you wouldn't need a procedure.
No.
And if you didn't have procedures, then the technician would not necessarily have a framework to do the work, and the business wouldn't sort of kind of do its thing.
And then the third piece of the triangle is if the entrepreneur wasn't coming up with the creativity and the business idea,
the business wouldn't exist to start with.
And
exactly.
So those two are gone.
And so often it's the flipping between these three people within you that causes that change, but not just the change, it causes that uncomfortable, this is out of spec sort of kind of side of things.
When people go into, you talk that way, and we talk about the e-myth or the entrepreneur myth, I think.
Yes,
really
the e-myth I think is misleading, but the entrepreneur myth.
It's the entrepreneur myth. The entrepreneur myth is it's not really a myth; it's just the ability to flip between three different people inside of you.
And if these people were perfectly balanced, you would have the most effective, efficient person on the planet.
Another myth.
Another myth,
Another e-myth.
But you don't. Your proportion of things, they end up being sort of, that 70, 20, 10 almost sort of thing. You are out of it, and you will always need to flip-flop between them. And unfortunately, when you jump out of bed in the morning, you're not necessarily wearing the right person.
No.
So if you've got a bunch of work to do, like I did the other day, I've got backlog of work. My brain, I had this fantastic dream with this amazing business idea.
Yeah.
So I've jumped out of bed in entrepreneurial brain, going, we could do this and this and this, and I'm going, yeah, I don't like those reports. I needed a pen and a paper. I needed to sit there, and I had to drag myself out of that, going, no, that's a Friday thinking. It's Wednesday. I have to do my real work. It's Wednesday.
Do you find it difficult when you're excited, you've come up with that, and it's like you said, drag you back? Is that difficult?
Yeah, it's a shocker.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at it. I've actually had a new thing happen to me recently. I met a really interesting business owner, and she said to me, well, come and experience what I do, and then you'll be able to obviously talk about my services or whatever better. I thought, why not? She's a hypnotherapist, a clinical hypnotherapist.
Oh.
And I've gone, look, I'm a bit scientific, it's a bit woo-woo for me, but okay, look,
They will tell you it is scientific.
Oh, she firmly told me it was scientific. But what we did was I went through a hypnotherapy session so I could see what it felt like, because she's going to come and do some interviews with Breaking Business.
Right.
And I thought it would be great to know what she's talking. I don't know anything about this space other than, typically you think hypnotherapy, tick, 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 or I'm going to be a chicken.
And welcome to the Breaking Business show.
But we're talking about people running businesses, but that's not what it's about at all. But that is our typical. I suppose when you talk hypnotherapy, you look at Vegas show. People coming every time they sit down, they go up and get a new tie. That's what I guess we sort of kind of sit there. But she doesn't work like that.
No, so she's a clinical.
She's a clinical hypnotherapist.
It sounds like
and a
she's
naturopath.
qualified.
Very. And she's a very scientific person, and she's very, very good at what she does.
Yeah.
So I went through the session talking about change and solidifying things, and what I did with her, we did a whole bunch of questionnaire type stuff before, so she knew about my childhood, what I was trying to achieve, why I wanted to do it. And what she does is she doesn't so much convert you into something. She effectively lets your brain go, you know what, this is what you want to do. This is your skill set. Look, let me connect them. So she connects you. So you walk away going, you know what, I've got this. I actually have the skills to do what I need.
That's clever.
And it's really powerful, amazingly powerful. Since I went there, I have had not one feeling of being overwhelmed. So last week, when I got to that whole, I jumped up with this new idea, I went, actually, I've got this. That belongs in that space. I can be a technician today. And I suddenly thought, holy hell.
Wow.
What happened?
And I know you, so I can say, wow.
Yes, holy hell. And so I'd gone through the previous week, I'd gone through that whole, I dragged myself through, and I was really struggling to put myself where I needed to be.
Yeah.
After spending time with Chris, I actually was able to say, you know what, I've got this. I know I've got that covered, I've got this covered, that goes there, that goes here. I'm just going to do this now. Got the report sorted, and then got to be an entrepreneurial whizzy.
Wow.
Quite amazing. So when you're talking about managing change, acknowledging the fact that there is 3 different parts of you, and you need each of these different parts at different times, knowing that this part goes with this, and then with Chris's help connecting, knowing that I've got the tools I need to do that, to be able to park it up in order, was fantastic. And you can do the same thing with your stages of business. When you understand what stage 1, stage 2 and stage 3 is, then you can do that. So how about we grab a break, and then we can talk about the stages of business and how they go together. Welcome back.
Welcome back. We do have fun in the break.
We just ripped away for coffee, so hopefully you've filled yours up as well.
Yeah, and I actually got a glass of water this time.
Oh, good job. Yeah. There you go, who knew? There's not enough caffeine in that, I'm sorry.
No, it's terrible.
That's right.
Stages of business.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've got your 3 people, and we've sorted those guys out. Did we talk about the other guys? The manager who needs to organise everything, and we did?
Yeah.
And then the
entrepreneurial
guy who just got these dreamy, whizzy bang, great ideas?
Yep.
Okay, so we've visited that.
And we kind of go, the entrepreneur goes, grade B plan, terrific. Technician, start making it happen. Manager, you work out the policies and procedures as we're going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that must cause a great deal of stress, but you've been to...
so you talked Chris,
and him who just went, no, they're the connections.
Yeah, and that was it. It wasn't like she decided to turn, as I said, turn me into a chicken. Yeah. It was just a case of learning my skills, and then under hypnosis, reminding me almost that I had this, and this is how it goes together, and this goes with this, and this is what, and that was what I went to talk about.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but
so stages of business. So we've got our 3 people, and we got an understanding of them and where they fit. But obviously, this business itself is going through stages, and
absolutely.
the entrepreneur myth, or the E-myth, as we're talking about, it's once you can get a grasp of that, it all seems to start making sense, as it is doing now for you.
Absolutely. So in that space, you have that entrepreneurial strike of brilliance, and you go, I can do this better. Why don't I do it for myself? Whatever got you to that point where you've gone, yeah, no, I'm not doing it your way.
I'm laughing because that's what I did. I was working for someone. How many people have been through this and gone, I can do it better than him?
What are you doing?
And then Dad said to me, you know something about your boss? I went, well, he's just a little bit smarter than you, so he's your boss.
Yes. Well, how does it go? You know, you can either do it, I can't remember exactly how it goes now, but either you've got the drive to do it yourself, or you'll work your whole life for someone who is prepared to take that risk.
True.
So if you're not prepared to take the risk yourself, you will work your whole life for someone who is.
So you're going to start off. So what do you call this first stage that we're going to?
I'd love to have invented it. Unfortunately, I didn't. Michael Gerber did.
Yeah.
However, that first stage is where you have that flash of brilliance, and typically it's around something that you know how to do.
Right. Yep.
So, not all the time, we'll talk about that later, but it's that I can do this better, or I can do it for myself, or I can bang in nails better than, and if I'm going to bang in nails, I may as well bang them in for myself. So is that, you do the technical work. It's not necessarily banging in nails work. It's can easily be something like, you could be an accountant, or a bookkeeper, or you've got a skill set. That's what I'm talking about, the actual work of what you do.
Yes.
That's when your technician takes over. So these guys, when you start out, you will do anything for your business. You're working flat out, you're passionate about what you do, you're doing all the actual stuff that needs to be done. The problem is, you're also having to do a whole stack of stuff that you don't necessarily know how to do. So you'll put yourself under stress doing flat out what you know how to do, but also now you're trying to run a business. So you're doing the accounts, you're doing the HR, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the SEO, you're doing all these things that you aren't necessarily in your skill set.
Yeah.
But you're giving it a red hot go because it's not that difficult. And often you'll find, as Michael makes the point in the book, you are the business. The business becomes, instead of 101 Media Group, it's Michael's Media. Or or it's Jackie's Juice, or it's something you become that brand because you want everybody to know that it's your juice and you make the best juice because it's Jackie's Juice and I'm Jackie, and it's about doing the best thing that Bob's bookkeeping or whatever. It's about that. That's often the case, which it is. So you work super hard and you work really, 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 really hard. Because it's all about you. It's for you, you know exactly what you're doing, you get a great customer base. Those customers tell their friends have other friends, and it turns into this business. But what starts to happen then is, first thing you do, you go, I'm really busy. And then the conversation you have, everybody goes, how's it going? You go, flat out.
I'm too busy.
Too busy, flat out. It's okay. It's just a rise because you don't believe it's sustainable. You don't believe it's going to continue like that. And then it does continue like that. And you are flat out, and those 10 hours become 12 hours. Those 12 hours become 14 hours. And then you're doing books at the kitchen table at 10 o'clock at night and all these other things. That's really typical of a business in its infancy. Now, that might last 6 months. It might last 5 years. There's no time frame on this. It's about you, it's about your business, it's about your tolerance, it's about a whole bunch of stuff. So the problem with that is there's only one of you. So you get to a point where you cannot physically, mentally sustain the work that you've got going on.
It's interesting you say that. I mean, I've had several businesses, from computer cleaning to publishing companies to building company to media company, and
you'd hate to be bored.
But the skill sets are pretty much broad. But I was talking to someone about this, and they said, well, how long does it take you to really think about your business? I said, I always say 2 years. Guess what happens? It normally takes me 2 years, and then I start getting other people involved. I've got a friend of mine, and he says, typically it takes me 6 months. Amazingly, it only ever takes him 6 months.
Yep.
I've got another friend who goes, no, it takes a lot longer. First 5 years in business, they're the workhorses. And typically, he's had 3 businesses.
Yep.
All 3 have taken 5 years to get there.
Now tell me, is this the same guy? not that I know him, but is this the same? Does he have the same thing that don't worry, your business won't make any money in the first 2 years?
Correct.
Isn't it interesting? We create what we imagine. That becomes reality.
Yes. Yeah, my reality, and I confess it, my reality is in 2 years' time, the business will be making money, I will start to employ staff, and amazingly, every business I've had at the 2 year mark, it starts to make money, and I start to employ staff.
That's crazy, isn't it? So, you effectively have a 2 year infancy.
Yes.
Effectively. Which, well, there you go. I suppose most kids get about 2 and they learn to talk.
I need to go see Chris.
Maybe. Absolutely. Well, she's all about when you run into a wall and you get stuck, let me help you unstick you. And that's effectively what she does, is she unsticks you. Doesn't create anything which you're not capable of yourself, but unsticks you so your brain stops getting in your own way. Which is brilliant. So in that business infancy, you're working super duper hard. And what starts to happen is things start to go wrong. The wobbly boots come on because you cannot sustain it. And you're juggling 356 balls and suddenly you've only got 354 because 2 of them are sort of fallen and rolled under a bush somewhere, and you're just not managing to keep all your balls in the air. And no matter how hard you work or how you try to re-engineer, you need your manager brain to step in. You daren't listen to your entrepreneurial self because that's going to come up with some crazy rabbit chasing story and that's just going to be all kinds of bad.
That'll be changing sets behind us when you're going, hold on, you haven't got this bit right yet.
So remember, the technician lives in the now.
Yes.
The manager in the past, the entrepreneur in the future. So you're going, I need to know about the future, but I just don't have time. And the manager's going, yeah, but yesterday we could have done that so much easier if we had a system. I don't have time for a system, and that's where you are. So that's sort of the end of the infancy, and it's also a point in which a lot of businesses fail.
Ooh.
Because they can't, you are so wrapped up in your business. It's so ingrained and it's you. You become the business becomes you. You can't put it down. So even when you're supposed to be spending family time, you're doing whatever else, you're thinking, how do I make this better? I'll just get that last invoice out. And it's all consuming. It's also the stage at which relationships break down, both within and outside your business. Your personal relationships break down because you just are not present for family, for friends. You don't have the time to spend, and that just can turn into a whole stack of horrible.
Jackie, do you think that inability to break through the infancy can be part of our ego? It's about us, so we feel like no one else can do it, but it's really ego. You're
talking to the wrong. How many times have I said, well, all I need to do is put my underpants on the outside, grab my cape, and I'm right, grab Bessie, put on my shiny armour, and we're good to go. It's a shocker.
I had a chat to a guy in Denver, over in the States, and he does what we do. He does media stuff like we do. And he's going, the hardest thing he had to do was shift from being in front of the camera, and he was the one who could do it, and he's never in front of the camera now. He's always behind the camera. He's a cinematographer. And he goes, you are a cinematographer because you do both. You've got to let go of this bit.
Yeah.
And you've got to move. And he said, and when you get that transition, that's the shift. And I must admit, guilty as charged.
Oh, absolutely.
Can anyone else ask the questions as good as me? Oh my goodness. There's only how many
perish the thought. But this is the thing. So you hang on really, really tight, and one of two things happens. Either the whole world comes crashing down and you cannot recover. Or you get such a fright from whatever that you realise that you have to get help. So when you have to get help, you have to take a break. So let's do that. So all refreshed, ready?
We're all refreshed and ready? Yes.
We've come to the end of infancy.
Okay.
Luckily for us, we are not one of those groups that held on really tight, rode it all the way to the bottom and just ended up in a smashed heap.
Rode it all the way to the bottom.
Had to get a real job, and now we're working at Kmart. So no, we didn't have to revert to real job status, which is, of course, the ultimate sin for an entrepreneur.
It is.
So
many of us would rather starve.
Many of us did starve before we got to this point. So the next stage, obviously, once you come out of infancy, is...
Adolescence.
Those teenage years.
Oh.
So when we're talking about adolescence, this is the point where we've finally gone, you know what, actually, I really need help. I do have to get some help.
I need a team.
No, that's not the first stage.
Oh.
You need a team, absolutely, but what do you think you need a team to do? Who was your very first hire?
It's usually someone very much like yourself.
You hire a technician because you need someone to help you with the technical work, because that's what's overwhelming you.
Yeah.
So in adolescence, all you end up doing is grabbing more people to do the work that you're doing. Hopefully with the theory that if I can teach Michael to do my work, then I can step back and get a bit organised. But it doesn't work like that. You just end up with two of you running around. So you hand over stuff that perhaps you're not doing, and often then you go, oh, thank goodness for that. Some of the workload is off.
Yes.
My manager hasn't kicked in. I still haven't necessarily learned how to manage and to run my business. I don't know how to tell you what to do. And anyway.
So I end up supervising you while you do the work that I could have done anyway.
But it's not even that. It's if I hand over my books to you, for example, you can do the books. Oh, thank goodness I don't have to do the books anymore. But I give you no direction. So you just do what you do.
Yeah.
And I don't do it. And there's often, one of two things happen. Either I end up supervising all the work that you're doing because that way you can do it my way and it then looks like me.
Yeah.
Or I hand over stuff completely and go, oh, thank God for that. Hands off. You can do my books. Phew! And all of a sudden, you're running away and you're running part of it. And then you just end up with this. So I'm flat out doing this bit. You're off running a whole second part of my business, doing the best that you can with very little information. So you've got this, then you end up with this conflict, and then you're doing the best you can. I'm flat out still doing the technician stuff because I haven't worked out how to get out of that mode yet. And you end up with this person just gets more and more and more and more and more responsibility. A year, 2 years, 6 months, whatever down the track. There's this God almighty crash between this person who's trying to effectively run their business from inside your business, and you, because your entrepreneur brain now can kick in because you've got a bit of space, goes, that's not what we dreamed. What's happening here? And so you end up with this conflict, and not only have you now got the conflict within yourself as to what goes here, what goes here, what goes here, what's my technician doing, what's my manager doing, what's my entrepreneur doing. You've now got a second person who's got those same three parts of them in conflict, and it just can end up as a complete and utter schmozzle.
Right.
Teenage years are always the hardest.
Teenage years, they're terrible.
But if you can get that group around you, and you can take the time to really explain the why of your business, which is obviously something we've talked about a number of times before. And one of the great advantages you have with one of the reasons I really love interviewing people is because you can get them to talk about this. I had the most, actually I'm going to digress here slightly.
Yes.
I had this bizarre thing happen the other day. I was interviewing a lady, and she's absolutely lovely. And all of a sudden, we're talking and just chatting, and we're talking actually about the different stages of her business and how her journey's gone. And she was talking about, though she hadn't called it infancy, but she could completely and utterly relate to that. Hanging on with all fists to her business because it had to be just so, and her point of difference was it was just like this. And it was all about the product and the client and the this and that, and she just had it all structured, and she just got to a point in her journey where she just ran into a wall and she didn't know what to do next. Yeah. And then we started talking about it because that was the point of the interview. I knew she was stuck, and it was a good illustration for what we were talking about. I thought, I wonder if I can help get it unstuck. But I thought, well, we're not going to make any problems like that. But so we got talking. Turned her into a chicken. So we started talking about this, and about her journey and some of the things which she contributed and some of the things that she'd solved. And she was saying, and it was like she was telling a technician story, how she'd started and she had this great idea, and the business had gone through. And she designed these gift baskets, and they were going to be different than other people's gift baskets because so often you see a gift basket and they use a low-end product. Yeah. And she could see no reason why. And she also often she says your gift basket ends up being a basket. What the hell do you do with a box? She wanted everything to be usable. So different baskets come in really lovely bowls, and they're built in, her baby baskets come in nappy storers, things which are really useful and really, really well thought out.
Yeah.
And then she delivers, her point of difference is she also delivers all of her baskets.
Okay.
Obviously in the Perth metro area, and she does a fantastic job. She takes the selfie shots and the whole, first impression, which gives the gift giver an idea, and she always lets them know who the gift was from and why they thought they deserved it. And she really, really loves this. It's like having, she says it's like bringing Christmas to someone every day. So you could really see this lovely idea she had. But of course she's got to the point where she's buying the stock, building the baskets, delivering the baskets, doing her social media, trying to get her name out there, trying to get a point of difference out there, and do her networking, and meet with people for coffee, and do all of this. And then she wants to do some podcasts regarding the art of gift giving and why it's important in a corporate environment, and why it's not smarmy and greasy and bribey, like she's not giving someone a pen, and how that she really wants to get that message out there.
Yeah.
But she's got to a point where there's only so many kilometres you can drive in a day, and so she's building baskets at night. And the thing is, she's fantastic at what she does, and she's really, really, really got this traction.
Yeah.
And then we're talking, and then all of a sudden, she looked at me and she goes, "Holy shit!" And I went, "What?" She goes, "I get it! I get it!" And it was amazing. It was like watching someone light a light inside of her. She just went, "I get it. I suddenly understand why I do this." And that was the way she put it. And I went, she goes, "I thought it was about giving. She goes, but it's not." I've gone, okay. I said, "Are we stopping recording?" She goes, "Yeah. We need coffee." And so we actually stopped everything and we had this chat. And it was like she tripped over the edge of infancy and fell into adolescence. And she suddenly realised that why she does it is because her grandfather, when she was a child, he was away a lot. And when she adored him. And when they got to catch up, they used to make, he used to do lots of origami, but they used to make these things together. And he was very into the whole box, and the thing went in the box, and the most amazing origami things. And he used to talk about how much joy he came through World War II and the Depression and all that sort of stuff. And she suddenly remembered the stories he used to tell her about how he used to make the toys and the gifts for the children and the orphans, because he loved that he could make a difference in their world. And she realised that though she thought, it's because I like making a difference, she suddenly remembered the feeling she had when she went with her grandfather to do that. And she had forgotten that. And we sat there for about half an hour with a butcher's paper and texters, and she literally reinvented her whole business and the way that she's going to do it. And she realised it wasn't that she liked making the gifts and giving them to people. It was that the purpose of her business to be a business, she wanted to bring joy, and she didn't have to be her that handed that gift over. So she actually skipped infancy. Sorry, she fell out of infancy into the teenagers, and then literally in probably an hour and a half went through the whole of teenage and ended up at maturity. So the time frames can be different, and that's important, because now we've got the break. Welcome back.
We've reached adulthood.
We've finally grown up. Okay, so I have to tell you the rest of the story.
Yes.
So what's happened is, we were talking about the flexibility of some of these time frames, how we spend our technician versus our manager versus our entrepreneur. They're in different proportions.
Technician, yes.
You've got the recording, jolly good. So the technician side of things, and then the manager side of things, which likes things organised, and then the entrepreneur who's got those whizzy bang flashy ideas. And those guys are constantly in conflict. Yeah. And then we have our stages of business which can be in conflict as well. So this infancy is where obviously you're working flat out as a technician.
Yeah.
Flat out as a technician. So then the adolescence is where you go, I seriously need some help here. But if you think about it, that help can be, I can offload my books, I can this, and you can continue to be the technician in an adolescent phase because you've outsourced all the stuff that you don't want to do, but you still need to be able to interact with these guys, obviously, and businesses can be very successful in that stage.
Yeah.
When you're talking about true maturity of a business, that's when your business stands alone as a real business, and it doesn't rely on you to be there every day. Otherwise, all you've really done is create yourself a job.
That is true.
Guilty. Everybody's guilty.
Hey, don't point at me, but I'm guilty.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it. Okay,
I'm going to get to adulthood. I'm not there yet. It takes me 2 years.
Adulthood, it's overrated. Really? So this adolescent phase is all about that whole learning new skills and actually learning to step back, maybe letting some bit more of your manager take over, and
is that learning what can be given, what and from where and when, and
absolutely. But it still can be. It's still a bit fluid-ish. You know, it's not really well defined, and it's
because people come, people go. They didn't quite work. I'll try another one.
And I subcontract that bit out, or because I don't really need a full-time bookkeeper, but I really not like you to have to do that, and it's those sorts of kind of stuff. And that sometimes, and that can be really unstable. A business can be really unstable at that stage. Is you're finding your feet. Because one of the last things people do, which is probably one of the first things they do, but it's always one of the things you think, I can't afford that, is hire a business coach. And finding a business coach who actually gets what you're trying to do and doesn't try to tell you how to run your business. So finding a good one of them can be tricky.
Yes.
But that mature business, which doesn't look like you have to let the manager in.
You do.
Because you have to have systems, and you have to have processes, and you have to have everything else. So do you have to be the person that puts together the basket in this particular instance? Do you have to be the person that sends the order to the champagne stockist to order the case of whatever? You don't. You're the person, the entrepreneur of you has worked with the manager and said, you know what, this is what we look like. This is why we exist. To service that why, these are the components. I have to have these components in place because that's the look and feel. That's what makes us who we are.
Yeah.
So once you've got that in place, you can systemize a number of components there. And if you want to be the person that does the deliveries because you love to see the smile and the oomph that it gives you to give the gift, then go right ahead. But that doesn't mean you have to be up at 9 o'clock at night ordering wine from wherever.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, in my school of thought where we come from, it's very, very similar, but we're aiming for all the time is to be what we call the business strategist. And just people call them CEOs, people call them managers, we call them business strategists. And for me it resonates because it's, well, what do? They work on the mission. They keep you on purpose. And their purposes can change, by the way, in businesses.
Absolutely.
Values, I don't think they change. I think they're quite personal. Right? It's just that some people go, no, you can change it. Yeah, probably not. But they work on those things, and they make sure that everyone in your organisation understands what you're trying to achieve, and they understand the way you're going to achieve it, which is your values. And then you have a renewal, so you have something built in, so you can keep the innovator side of it going. Once you go, well, that's where I have to go to. The journey getting there, which is the journey you've taken us on today, can be difficult, can be fraught, but it can be fun. Oh,
absolutely. What's the point of getting out of bed if it's not fun?
Yeah.
Might as well stay in bed.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go there. Hang on, rewind that bit. But this is the thing. You can effectively decide to set up your business as a mature business from the beginning.
Oh, it takes me 2 years.
But, you know, if you knew what you wanted your business to look like.
Yes.
Okay, so you understood the point of, or the niche of, or the whatever.
There's a challenge.
If you're going to say reverse engineer, I'm going to kick you in the shins. I wouldn't say a word. But if you think about this is what I want to be, and you know that in the business of your dreams, you're actually going to have a business which stands on its own. You're going to be able to take holidays, etc., etc.
Yeah.
You can go, rightio, cool. And this is, again, this isn't something in the E-Myth. You can go, radio, cool. I know it's going to need, I need someone who's going to do stock control. I need accounts. I need sales. I need this. I need that. So you know all the pieces which need to go together of a business, of running a business.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's why they invented Google.
Yes.
So, or the Breaking Business webpage.
Excellent choice.
Who knew?
Who knew? Excellent
You can use Google to find the Breaking Business webpage.
Yeah.
So, but you need all these components.
Yeah.
So take 2 or 3 bottles of wine, write all these components out so you know actually what's there. And if that means that you're doing all of the roles, then you're doing all of the roles. Sign every one of the contracts.
Yeah.
And say, these are all the jobs I need to do. And then as you get bigger and you get from that, I'm a technician, I'm a technician, I'm a technician, and you can be a technician with lots and lots of pieces of paper. You know you're doing all these things. When you get to that stage of infancy, when you're just going, hang on a minute, the world is ending, I'm going to go bonkers here. Yeah. You can go, rightio, what am I going to hand off? And you can go, hi Michael, welcome to my business. This is the financial stuff I do. Can you please sign on to these 2 roles? So cool, no worries at all. You know exactly what you need to do. I know exactly what I've asked you to do. And then we can just check back. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And then I'm sure I'm still running like a bonkers brain doing all of this stuff. And then you go, what's this whole SEO? I don't know if I understand. I'm doing it well, but I can bring someone, subcontract or whatever. Okay, this I think is all the SEO stuff. Can I give you those? Good. So you've got 2, you've got 1. That leaves me 7.
Yeah.
And you've got to you're still going through those stages, but in a way that the manager is no longer fighting with the technician. No. Because the manager's got the organisation part of it. It gives you a sense of, this is actually going to be okay. And then your technician can get on with doing the work because you've given him or her the work to do. Yeah. In a management organisation stuff. And when you get those odd moments where these things aren't fighting too bad, they're doing the thing, your entrepreneur can go, okay, cool, where are we going? Hey, actually, that'll work. What about this, guys? And your manager brain goes, okay, that fits into there, and your technician brain goes, oh God, more work. But at least you can then have a sensible conversation with yourself regarding where you're going with the business. So, at the risk of getting my shins kicked, we are talking about my favourite subject, reverse engineering. But the reverse engineering started with the why, the feeling of why. Come on, you've got to give me points for that. Oh, well, for those of you who haven't been watching us, this is an ongoing battle. Because if you say, why do you want it to be, what is it? You have to have the what and then the why. No, you have to have, because the why doesn't have to be a thing. It can be, I want to make a difference to children's lives. Why? See, second. No, I want to make a difference to children's lives. The next question is, what am I going to do to make that so? Why comes first? What comes second? And who's on third? So. Yes. A wrap up. People. Yes. You've got the 3 parts of you. They will be in conflict. Give yourself a break. Cool. You're going to go through stages of business. Get over it. Go, I'm going to work really hard. Yeah. But this is where I'm going. Allow yourself to move into that space. Have a bit of structure, but don't get too bent out of shape about it. Anybody can do it. You don't have to follow conventional business rules. You can break business rules. Break conventional business rules. Succeed. I'm Jackie Campbell. That's Michael Worthington, and we're done.